Hello and welcome to Healthy Aging Blueprint. I'm truly grateful you're here. On this channel, we explore simple, powerful ways to care for your body, nurture your mind, and live with purpose at every stage of life. Wherever you're watching from, I wish you good health, peace, and lasting happiness. If you find value in today's video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a step on your journey to aging well. Have you ever stood up in the morning and felt like the floor was shifting beneath you? Did you think feeling dizzy and weak was just part of getting older? What if one simple, natural drink could change all of that, without any side effects or prescriptions? I'm 78 years old. I'm not a doctor, a naturopath, or any kind of health professional. I'm simply an older person who spent years believing that physical discomfort was just something we had to accept with age. You probably know what I mean. That moment when you get out of bed and suddenly the whole room spins. Your footing feels uncertain, your breath shortens, and you're forced to stand there, still, waiting for everything to settle. For months, this was how my mornings began. I felt dizzy, foggy-headed, and my legs were so weak I could barely make it to the bathroom without steadying myself against the walls. My family tried to reassure me. "It's normal," they said. "The body slows down at your age." Doctors didn't help much either. They handed me more prescriptions, one for blood pressure, another for circulation, something else to help me sleep. But deep down, I knew this wasn't right. This wasn't living. I didn't want to spend my final years afraid of falling, afraid of going for a walk, afraid of simply getting out of bed. Then something completely unexpected happened. It was just an ordinary afternoon. I was having tea at an old friend's house, and out of the blue, he handed me a drink he'd made himself. "Try this," he said. "It's not magic, but it helped me." I didn't expect anything. I only accepted it out of politeness. The drink was incredibly simple, made from ingredients most people already have at home. What I didn't know then was that this humble, natural glass of liquid would become the starting point of a major transformation in my body. It didn't happen overnight. I won't pretend it was instant. But after a few days, I noticed something had shifted. I could stand up in the morning with more stability. The dizziness started to fade, and within a week or so, it was completely gone. I could walk without fear again. My body felt stronger. My mind felt clearer. I was no longer just surviving. I was living again. That's why I'm sharing this with you. I'm not selling anything. I'm not here to make wild promises. I just want to show you exactly what was in that drink, how to make it yourself, and why it might help clear your arteries and eliminate those frustrating dizzy spells in the morning. But before we dive into that, I'd really love to hear from you. Leave a comment and tell me, how old are you, and where are you watching from? I truly enjoy reading them. It helps me feel connected to you and reminds me who I'm speaking to. Now get ready, because what you're about to hear might not just change your mornings, it might change your life. The dizziness I felt every morning didn't just fade away. Each time I opened my eyes and tried to sit up, the room would spin like a carousel. I assumed it was because I was moving too quickly, something harmless. "Just slow down," my daughter would say. "That's perfectly normal at your age." I heard that so often that I started believing it. But the symptoms didn't go away. In fact, they became more frequent. Sometimes when I stood up from the couch, my vision would blur, like a fog had suddenly rolled over my eyes. I'd have to blink several times to see clearly. On some mornings, I felt completely drained, even after a full night's sleep. My legs would tremble ever so slightly if I stood in one place for too long. It didn't exactly hurt, so I ignored it, convincing myself it was all just part of the aging process. No one in my family seemed worried. They said it was just how aging works, that sooner or later everyone goes through it. Even my doctor didn't express much concern. He told me these symptoms were part of the body's natural wear and tear, and decided to increase my blood pressure medication. He encouraged me to stay active, to keep moving. I trusted that advice. After all, don't we all grow up believing doctors know best? So I went home thinking everything was fine, that my situation was under control. I didn't know how wrong I was. One morning changed everything. It started off just like any other. I got out of bed, walked to the bathroom, and stepped into the shower. Everything seemed normal until I stepped out. The moment my feet touched the bathroom floor, a wave of weakness rushed over me. My entire body suddenly felt heavy, like someone had pulled the energy right out of me. My head was spinning. I barely managed to grab the towel rack before I collapsed. I stood there trembling, completely exposed, struggling to stay on my feet. I tried to take deep breaths, waiting for the sensation to pass, but it didn't. It took several minutes before I could gather enough strength just to sit at the edge of the bed. That morning shook me. It was the first time I truly feared something serious was happening. That's when I started asking questions. What was my body trying to tell me? What was breaking down inside me? I began reading everything I could get my hands on, speaking with people, trying to connect the dots. And one word kept appearing over and over again: circulation. Circulation is the silent force that keeps our entire body functioning. It's what delivers blood, oxygen, and essential nutrients to our organs and tissues. When circulation slows or fails, our body starts to signal distress, little by little. As we age, it's common for our arteries to harden, narrow, or become clogged with buildup like cholesterol. This restricts blood flow, leading to symptoms like dizziness, fatigue, blurred vision, and muscle weakness. Subtle signs that something vital inside us is slowing down. But no one explained it to me that way. No one told me my issue wasn't simply my age, it was the condition of my arteries. And once I realized that, I knew I couldn't wait around and hope things would get better on their own. I had to do something. That's when I remembered the natural drink my friend had offered me and decided to take it seriously this time. But before I explain what it was or how it helped, I want you to understand what's really going on inside your body and why something as simple as this drink can actually make a difference. Let's talk about the truth behind morning dizziness. Have you ever stood up and felt like the room spun, your vision blurred, or you lost balance for a few seconds? That's not just random. It has a name: orthostatic dizziness. It might sound complicated, but it's actually easy to understand. This happens when your blood pressure suddenly drops as you rise from a seated or lying position. When that happens, your brain doesn't receive enough blood fast enough, and that brief shortage causes you to feel dizzy, disoriented, or even faint in more extreme cases. This issue commonly affects people over 65. As we age, the systems that once kept our blood pressure stable begin to slow down. When we were younger, our nervous system reacted instantly to changes in posture, adjusting pressure to keep blood flowing smoothly. But with age, this process becomes sluggish and imprecise. The result? Blood takes longer to reach the brain, and that's when the spinning sensation begins. Here's the important part. Orthostatic dizziness isn't a standalone disease. It's a symptom, a warning. It's your body signaling that something deeper is out of balance, specifically your circulatory system. And very often, the real culprit is hiding in your arteries. As we get older, our arteries begin to lose their natural flexibility. They stop expanding and contracting efficiently, turning stiff and rigid, almost like rusted metal pipes that can't bend anymore. Even worse, these arteries can become coated with cholesterol, fats, and calcium deposits. These form plaques, which narrow the path that blood must travel. Imagine the life-giving channels in your body slowly clogging over time. When plaque builds up, blood flow is restricted. The heart has to work harder just to push blood through these narrowed passages. But it doesn't always succeed, especially when you're changing positions quickly, like standing up from bed. That's when the dizziness strikes. It's not just a sudden drop in pressure. It's a sign that your internal systems are no longer functioning the way they should. Yes, there are medications designed to help. Some aim to stabilize blood pressure, others to improve heart rhythm. But here's something most people don't talk about. Medications don't always fix the root cause. In fact, in some cases, they can actually make the problem worse. Many drugs used for high blood pressure lower your numbers, but if you're already prone to drops when standing, they can intensify the dizziness instead of relieving it. On top of that, medications rarely restore the arteries to their youthful state. They don't dissolve plaques or bring back the elasticity your blood vessels once had. They manage the symptoms but do little to regenerate circulation from the inside out. That's why, even after following medical advice and taking prescriptions, so many older adults still feel tired, dizzy, and unstable every day. When I used to walk and feel that weakness wash over me, I didn't fully understand what was going on. All I knew was that something felt off, that my body wasn't behaving the way it should. But once I learned more about how circulation affects everything, how poor blood flow can cause these symptoms, it all started to make sense. My body wasn't failing. It was speaking to me, giving me signs that something wasn't flowing properly. That realization changed everything. I wasn't looking to abandon medical treatments, but I felt a growing need to find something that addressed the underlying issue, the health of my arteries. Pills alone weren't doing that. After months of nearly daily dizziness, of steadying myself against walls, of faithfully taking medications that either did nothing or made things worse, I reached a point of deep frustration. I had done everything my doctor told me to do. Pills in the morning, afternoon, and evening, a low-salt diet, a short daily walk, even though my legs felt heavier with time. Still, nothing really improved. It felt like I was drifting, like a ship with no direction. I knew something wasn't right, but no one seemed to know how to make it better. That's when I began asking myself the hard questions. Was this really inevitable? Was this just what aging meant? Or was there something I hadn't tried, something simple but overlooked? At that stage in life, you begin to question even the things you once trusted without hesitation. It's not about rejecting science or rebelling against doctors. It's because after trying everything they offered and seeing no change, your body starts to plead for another way. You become open to possibilities you wouldn't have considered before. So I started searching for answers on my own, not through dense scientific research. I didn't need complicated medical journals, but through everyday wisdom. I read articles on natural remedies. I found personal stories from seniors like me. I visited forums where people shared their experiences, their struggles, and sometimes their small breakthroughs. I wasn't hoping for a miracle. I wasn't chasing a cure. I was just trying to find something that could help my body regain a little balance, something that didn't come in a box of 30 pills. I also began talking more with people around me, at the park, after church, even while waiting in line at the pharmacy. And what I discovered was eye-opening. I wasn't alone. So many others were quietly suffering from the same things. Dizziness in the morning, shaky legs, fatigue that lingered even after rest. But some of them had found relief in ways I had never heard about. I started exploring different options. Things like natural teas, fresh juices, small dietary changes, and even simple breathing exercises. I wasn't looking for a miracle, just something that might bring even a small improvement. Then, in one of those conversations, something truly unexpected happened, something that would end up changing everything for me. It was a regular morning, and I had stopped by a local bakery. There, by pure chance, I ran into Arthur, an old friend I hadn't seen in over 20 years. Despite the gray in his hair, I recognized him instantly. But what really caught my attention was how he moved. He stood tall and walked with the kind of stability and confidence you'd expect from someone 20 years younger. His energy was striking. It made me stop and wonder, what was his secret? We sat down together, and as old friends do, we caught up on life. Naturally, the conversation shifted to health. I opened up about the struggles I'd been facing, dizziness, weakness, and the exhaustion that wouldn't go away. Arthur listened without interrupting, He didn't offer quick fixes or judge. He simply nodded as I spoke, his face calm and focused, as if he understood exactly what I was going through. Then, when I had finished, he said something I didn't expect. "I had the same issue," he told me, "but a natural drink helped me more than any pill." I'll admit, at first I thought he was just being polite, maybe trying to offer hope. But Arthur wasn't joking, and looking at him, it was obvious something had changed. His transformation was real. He went on to explain how he had created a blend of simple ingredients, nothing exotic or hard to find, that helped improve his circulation, clear his arteries, and even bring back mental clarity and strength in his legs. I've never been someone easily swayed by health fads or exaggerated claims. At my age, you learn to be skeptical. I wasn't expecting magic, but I figured, why not give it a shot? It was just a drink, after all, made from things you probably already have in your kitchen. Arthur told me to take it every day for a few weeks and observe. I didn't expect a dramatic turnaround. I was just hoping to feel a bit more steady on my feet, maybe reduce the number of dizzy spells in the morning. But what happened next went far beyond my expectations. The ingredients, as he explained them to me, were added one at a time. I was surprised. There was no secret formula, no expensive supplement, no mysterious powder bought online. It was a combination of ordinary items, things many people already use daily. Yet, when blended together in just the right way, something powerful seemed to happen. Today, I want to share that with you. I'll walk you through exactly what's in the drink, why each ingredient matters, and how this simple mixture might be the turning point your body has been waiting for. Why do these ingredients work so well together? Because when combined, they create a powerful synergy that targets your arteries, boosts circulation, and even sharpens mental clarity. Each ingredient plays a role on its own, but together, their effects multiply in a way that truly supports the body from the inside out. Let's start with lemon. Most people think of lemon as just something to flavor fish or make lemonade. But this fruit is far more than that. It's loaded with vitamin C, antioxidants, and natural compounds that help reduce inflammation in your blood vessels. Lemon also aids liver function and helps purify the blood. Its natural acidity plays a key role in dissolving fatty deposits that line the artery walls, which helps improve blood flow throughout the body. Next comes garlic, one of the oldest and most trusted natural remedies for heart health. Garlic contains a powerful compound called allicin. This compound has vasodilating properties, meaning it helps relax and widen your arteries, allowing blood to flow more freely and easing the pressure on your heart. It also works to remove small cholesterol deposits that cling to artery walls over time. Then there's ginger. Ginger is widely known for its anti-inflammatory properties, but it also boosts circulation and supports digestion. What stood out most to me was its mild blood-thinning effect. By slightly thinning the blood, ginger helps reduce the risk of clots, those dangerous blockages that can lead to dizziness or more serious issues. Plus, ginger can calm nausea and ease that off-balance sensation you sometimes feel when standing up too fast. Fourth on the list is turmeric. This bright golden root has a long history in traditional medicine, and for good reason. Its main active ingredient, curcumin, is a powerful anti-inflammatory. Why is that so important? Because chronic inflammation, especially in the blood vessels, can silently damage your arteries over time. Turmeric helps keep your arteries clean, flexible, and functioning more like they did when you were younger. Then we have apple cider vinegar. While it's acidic in taste, it actually has an alkalizing effect once it's inside the body. Apple cider vinegar supports healthy blood sugar levels, improves digestion, and helps break down fat buildup. It's also associated with better arterial health by helping the body flush out toxins. Many people take it with warm water in the morning, but when it's blended with these other ingredients, its effects become much more noticeable. And finally, honey. This isn't just a way to sweeten the mix, it serves a real purpose. Honey is antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and naturally energizing. It helps soften the bold, sometimes harsh flavors of garlic and vinegar, while also offering a quick source of clean energy. It soothes the digestive system and even improves how your body absorbs the nutrients from the rest of the ingredients. So what happens when you mix all of these together? That's where the magic is. Each ingredient supports the others, and the result is much greater than the sum of its parts. Blood circulation improves, arteries begin to clear naturally, blood pressure stabilizes, and your body slowly starts to return to the kind of balance you thought was lost forever. Here's something that might surprise you. This drink isn't some new, modern discovery. For generations, people from all around the world have been using similar blends to support circulation and overall health. From Ayurvedic traditions in India to folk remedies in Eastern Europe and Latin American households, versions of this drink have helped countless individuals improve their cardiovascular well-being without the use of synthetic chemicals or expensive treatments. Modern science is only now beginning to catch up. Researchers have started to study the individual components of this drink and are slowly confirming what our ancestors already knew. The truth is, sometimes the most powerful solutions don't come in a pill or a bottle, but from nature itself. Simplicity, tradition, and time-tested wisdom often hold the keys to true wellness. Now that you understand what each ingredient does and why they work so well together, it's time to learn exactly how to make the drink that changed everything for me. You won't need any complicated tools or rare items, just a little preparation, attention to detail, and a willingness to stay consistent. This process is easy to follow, and if you'd like, you can pause the video or grab a pen and paper to write this down. Let's begin with the ingredients. 4 medium lemons, 4 fresh garlic cloves, 1 thumb-sized piece of ginger, 1 heaping teaspoon of turmeric powder, or a small piece of fresh turmeric root if available, 3 tablespoons of organic apple cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons of pure honey, half a liter of water. Now, let's go step by step. Step 1. Prepare the ingredients. Start by washing the lemons thoroughly. I usually use them with the peel because that's where many of the nutrients are. But if you have a sensitive stomach, it's best to peel them. Cut the lemons into medium-sized chunks and remove the seeds if you can. Then peel the garlic cloves and the ginger. If you're using fresh turmeric root instead of powder, peel about a 1-inch piece. Step 2. Blend or process. Place the chopped lemons, garlic, ginger, and turmeric into a blender or food processor. Add about half a glass of water to help everything mix smoothly. Blend it all until you get a thick, somewhat pulpy mixture. Fair warning, this step might leave a strong smell in your kitchen, especially from the garlic. But trust me, the end result is worth the temporary aroma. Step 3. Strain and heat. Pour the blended mixture into a small pot and add the remaining water so that you have around half a liter of liquid in total. Heat it gently on a very low setting. You don't want it to boil, just allow it to steam lightly. When you see light steam rising, turn off the heat. This soft warming step helps bring the flavors together and softens the intensity without damaging the benefits of garlic or the delicate nutrients in honey, which we'll be adding shortly. Step 4. Add the final ingredients. Once the mixture is warm, not hot, add the apple cider vinegar and the 2 tablespoons of honey. Stir well until everything is fully combined. It's important not to add honey while the mixture is still hot, as heat can reduce its natural health properties. Step 5. Strain, optional, and store. At this point, you can choose whether or not to strain the final drink. Some prefer it smoother, others don't mind the pulp. Either way, pour the finished drink into a clean glass bottle or jar with a lid and store it in the refrigerator. You can adjust the final mixture based on your preference. If you don't like pulp or fibers, go ahead and strain it for a smoother texture. But if you're fine with a little thickness, you can leave it as is. Store the finished drink in a glass jar with a tight lid and keep it in the refrigerator. If properly stored, it stays fresh for about 5 to 7 days. As for how to take it, it's incredibly simple. Just 1 tablespoon a day on an empty stomach is enough. If your stomach tends to be sensitive in the morning, it's okay to take it after breakfast instead. And if the flavor is too strong for you, you can dilute the dose in half a glass of warm water. I personally started with just half a tablespoon each morning to see how my body would react. After a week, when I felt more comfortable, I increased it to a full tablespoon. There are also a few small tricks you can use to improve the flavor or boost its effects. If the taste is too intense, add a bit more honey to smooth it out, or toss in some fresh mint leaves when serving. It gives it a refreshing touch. You can also warm it slightly and sip it like tea, especially during colder months. On some days, I add a pinch of cinnamon. It's not only delicious, but also supports circulation and brings a warm, comforting aroma that makes the drink even more enjoyable. Now, it's important to mention a few precautions. While this drink is made with natural ingredients, it isn't suitable for everyone. If you're taking blood thinners, you should talk to your doctor first. Both garlic and ginger can enhance the effects of those medications. People with active stomach ulcers or severe acid reflux should also avoid this remedy, as the ingredients might aggravate those conditions. And of course, if you're allergic to any of the components, don't take it. If you're currently on medication for blood pressure or heart conditions, it's especially important to consult your doctor before adding anything new, even if it's natural. This drink isn't inherently dangerous, but it can amplify the effects of your treatment, which could require dose adjustments. I didn't stop taking my medications overnight. Instead, I observed how my body responded and later discussed everything with my doctor. That's the safe and responsible way to go about it. When I first began this routine, I wasn't expecting much. You know how it is. Sometimes you try things, take advice, but you don't really believe it will work. But something about this time felt different. It didn't work like magic, and I wasn't expecting miracles. Still, I started noticing subtle changes that caught my attention. During the first 2 or 3 days, my body began to feel lighter. The most noticeable shift was in my legs. They didn't feel as heavy or sluggish when walking around the house. Before this, I would often hesitate before standing up, bracing myself for the dizziness. But now, that tension had started to ease. It used to feel like I was dragging sandbags tied to my ankles. Every step required effort. But by the 3rd day, I noticed I could walk down the hallway with more ease. No more stopping halfway to catch my breath near the kitchen counter. And it wasn't just the body. That heavy, lingering brain fog, like I'd been walking through the day half asleep, started to lift. I began feeling more alert, more motivated to do small things, like organizing a drawer, walking out to buy bread, or simply picking up the phone to call a friend. These were minor actions, sure, but to me, they meant the world. From days 4 through 7, the dizziness began to vanish. Before that, every time I got out of bed or stood up from the couch, there was this jolt, that sudden spin that forced me to sit back down or cling to the wall for support. But something shifted. By the end of that first week, I got up one morning, walked to the bathroom, and realized while washing my face that I hadn't felt dizzy at all. No wobbling, no hesitation. I moved with clarity and control. It took a moment for it to sink in, that something had truly changed. That was the moment I knew this drink wasn't just a comforting routine, it was actually helping. And it wasn't just that one morning. The steady progress continued. Day after day, I was getting up with more confidence, no longer needing to sit for minutes on the edge of the bed to get my bearings. I felt stable, grounded, like myself again after what felt like years of imbalance. By the 2nd week, the changes were becoming undeniable. My blood pressure began to even out. I check it regularly at home, and it used to bounce unpredictably, rising and falling with no clear reason, sometimes making me anxious. But now, the numbers stayed closer to where they should be for someone my age. That alone brought me a sense of calm I hadn't felt in a long time. There were other shifts, too. My digestion improved. Meals no longer left me feeling bloated or uncomfortable. I slept more soundly through the night. without being jolted awake by pressure or unease in my chest. Even the palpitations, the strange thudding sensation I'd feel around dusk, especially when reading or watching TV, quietly disappeared. They had never been painful, but they were unsettling, and I hadn't realized how much they'd weighed on me until they were gone. Was it magic? No, it was consistency. If you expect miracles in 48 hours, you'll likely be disappointed. This isn't a magic potion. It's a steady, quiet process of paying attention, being patient, and showing up for yourself every single day. Each morning, at the same time, I took my dose without fail. No skipping, no second guessing. I also made small lifestyle changes, more water, less salt, a bit more daily movement. But above all, it was the discipline and commitment that made the difference. Friends told me, "You got lucky with that recipe." But I don't see it as luck. I see it as a choice, a decision to care, a message I sent to my own body. I'm listening, I'm here, and I want to help you heal. At my age, that feeling, that growing sense of control over my own health, is worth more than any prescription. Because the older you get, the more you realize, real healing doesn't happen overnight. Health isn't something you win back in a single moment. It's something you nurture. Like a garden, it needs daily care, even before you see a single bloom. You water it, tend to it, and trust that the work will pay off. When I started feeling better, part of me wondered if it was all just coincidence. Could this simple drink really be responsible? I was curious. I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but I've always believed in understanding the why behind things. So I started reading, asking questions, and diving into studies, just trying to make sense of what was happening in my body. And what I found, honestly, blew me away. This drink wasn't a folktale or superstition. It wasn't magic. It was science, backed by decades of research. Many of the ingredients in the drink I had been taking have been studied by universities and medical researchers all over the world. Let's take garlic, for example, arguably the star of the mix. Most people think of garlic as just a flavorful ingredient to season food, but it's far more than that. It's one of the most powerful natural remedies we have. Research from the National Institutes of Health in the US, along with several respected European universities, has shown that garlic can lower blood pressure in older adults. Not instantly, of course, but with regular, steady use, it can actually mimic the effects of mild hypertension medication. How? Garlic contains sulfur compounds like allicin, which act as natural antioxidants. These compounds help dilate blood vessels, improve circulation, and reduce the strain on the heart. They also combat oxidative stress, which is a major contributor to stiff arteries, plaque buildup, and chronic inflammation, all of which become more common as we age. It's not just folk wisdom. Modern science confirms what our ancestors seemed to know all along. But garlic isn't the only powerhouse in the mix. Turmeric, that bright golden root, is another essential player. For centuries, it's been used in traditional Indian medicine to treat all kinds of ailments. And now, science is beginning to validate that ancient knowledge. Studies show that curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, has strong anti-inflammatory effects. That's especially relevant for older adults because so many age-related conditions stem from silent inflammation, joint pain, cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and more. Curcumin also helps improve the function of the endothelium, the thin lining of our blood vessels. A healthier endothelium means better circulation, more stable blood pressure, and reduced risk of heart-related complications. No wonder turmeric was once considered sacred by many ancient cultures. So if these ingredients have such strong effects, why aren't they already part of mainstream medical treatments? It's a fair question. The truth is, modern medicine, with all of its extraordinary advances, sometimes overlooks the simple wisdom of the past. The system often leans toward quick solutions, pills, prescriptions, procedures. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. Many situations do require urgent intervention or powerful medications. But there's another side of health that responds beautifully to natural care. Thoughtful nutrition, gentle routines, rest, and daily practices rooted in tradition and patience. Both approaches have their place. They don't have to compete. They can complement each other. After all, isn't true healing often a blend of science and soul? Along with movement, I embraced the power of ingredients like garlic, ginger, honey, and turmeric. But let me be clear, I didn't walk away from modern medicine. I still go for checkups. I still get tests. I continue monitoring my health. What changed wasn't my responsibility to care. It was my relationship with it. I no longer feel completely dependent on prescriptions for every little improvement. Instead, I feel like I now have something powerful and supportive right in my own kitchen, tools that help improve my quality of life day by day. That shift in mindset changes everything. The key, I've realized, is balance. It's not about rejecting modern medicine. It's also not about blindly idolizing natural remedies as if they're perfect. True wisdom lies in blending the best of both worlds, letting science explain what our ancestors already practiced, and finally valuing the knowledge that's often been overlooked or forgotten. This drink isn't a miracle, but it's proof that sometimes the answers we need aren't in a faraway clinic or complicated procedure. They're already nearby, within reach, just waiting to be seen. For years, I had believed that feeling tired, dizzy, or drained was just a normal part of aging. I never thought to question it. Neither did those around me. My family would say, "Dad, you're just not up for much anymore." I'd nod in agreement. Friends would talk about their back pain or joint stiffness like they were inevitable trophies of getting older. And I accepted that story. I wore it too. Until one day, I finally realized something that changed everything. Aging is natural, but giving up? That's a choice. And they are not the same. There's a huge difference between growing older with grace and simply surrendering to decline. Yes, the body changes. I don't run like I once did. I'm not as strong as I was in my 40s. I don't sleep as deeply or bounce back as quickly. But none of that means I'm powerless. It just means I need to care more intentionally, pay closer attention, eat better, move with purpose, honor my limits while still pushing myself to live fully. I remember the moment this shift became real. It was a Saturday morning, and my grandson asked if I wanted to take a walk with him at the park. Normally, I would have said no without hesitation. My legs would ache. The heat might get to me. I'd worry about getting lightheaded or falling behind. I always had an excuse, maybe out of fear, maybe out of habit. But that day, I said yes. I had been drinking the mixture for a few weeks by then. I felt steadier on my feet. I could breathe more easily. My confidence had begun to return, not from ego, but from listening to my body and supporting it in the ways it had long been asking for. We set out with sun hats on, bottles of water in hand, ready for a gentle stroll. I began cautiously, measuring every step, half expecting the familiar swirl of dizziness or that heavy, foggy feeling in my head. But none of it came. No spinning, no vertigo, only a surprising steadiness that felt almost foreign. And then something I hadn't experienced in years surfaced: confidence. We kept walking, farther than I'd planned, turning it into a game by counting squirrels along the path and chatting about his latest drawings from school. At one point, he squeezed my hand and whispered, "Grandpa, you're stronger today." I smiled, not because I'd magically regained my youth, but because I'd reclaimed something even greater: belief in myself. Later, settled into my armchair, I realized I wasn't actually old. I had simply overlooked my own power to choose, to test new ideas, to keep searching for answers. For so long, I'd told myself nothing could change, yet so much was still within reach. And it wasn't just the drink, it was the mindset behind it. Each morning, I began asking, what can I do for myself today? What tiny adjustment could make a difference? Which part of my body needs a little extra care, attention, or respect? When you act out of genuine love for yourself, rather than sheer obligation, everything starts to shift. Aging doesn't have to mean pressing pause on life. It means living at a different rhythm, maybe slower, but richer, more intentional, and full of gratitude. Wellness isn't reserved for the young. Feeling good carries no expiration date. You can always move the needle a bit, whether by breathing more deeply, sleeping more soundly, walking with steadier steps, or simply smiling more often. So if you're tempted to think the effort isn't worth it, remember, the goal isn't to rewind the clock, but to move forward with greater strength, on your own terms, at your own pace, and with firm resolve. It isn't too late. You're not alone. You're not done. You're still here. And as long as there's breath in your body, there's room to grow, to shift, to feel better. One question I often get from people after sharing this drink is, how did you stay consistent? It's a great question, because let's face it, we've all started diets, health routines, or wellness tips with enthusiasm, only to let them fade within a few days or weeks. But this time, something was different. And it wasn't because the drink had magic in it. It was because I approached it like any other simple act of self-care, like brushing my teeth or washing my face. Routine, non-negotiable, steady. Like any new habit, the beginning was awkward. There were mornings I forgot. Other times I'd tell myself, I felt fine yesterday. Maybe I can skip today. That's the moment when old thinking tries to sneak back in. But then I'd pause and remember how I used to feel. Those mornings of dizziness, the weakness in my legs, the strange ringing in my ears that came and went without reason. I didn't want to go back to that. So I made it simple. I built it right into my morning. I'd get up, wash my face, then head to the kitchen and prepare my glass. No room for debate. Just like tying your shoes before you go outside, it became automatic. Some people call this habit stacking, where you connect a new behavior to one that's already second nature. That's exactly what I did. And something else helped me stick to it. A small photo I placed on the fridge. It was of me and my grandson, taken during that walk in the park, the day I finally said yes. Underneath the picture, I had written in marker, "Do it for this." Every morning I'd see it and instantly remember why I started. Not for trends, not because someone told me to, but for my life, my moments, my future. I also gave myself little tools to stay accountable. One of them was a basic paper calendar. Each day I took the drink, I marked an X on that day. It seems small, but seeing a week's worth of check marks gave me a quiet sense of pride. And when I was tempted to stop, I'd glance at that string of marks and ask myself, do I really want to break this streak now? By the third month, it wasn't a question anymore. The habit was locked in. My body actually looked forward to it. But even more than that, the results spoke for themselves. I no longer got out of bed cautiously, afraid the room might spin. I stood up with confidence. My walks became longer, more relaxed. My digestion felt lighter. That heavy, dragging fatigue that used to settle in by mid-morning, it was gone. I no longer needed to sit down just to get through the day. I could breathe freely again. I no longer hesitated to go out on my own or worried about whether I'd have the strength to get through the day. Compared to who I was before, I felt like a different man. I used to carry this quiet discomfort. Not pain exactly, but an underlying sense that something inside me was fading. It wasn't dramatic, just a slow dimming, like a light that's been flickering for too long. But now, something in me had sparked back to life. Not in some grand, euphoric way, but in a clear, steady presence. A quiet sense of wellness that I could feel in every step I took. And to think it all began with a single glass each morning. Just one small, simple habit. If you're thinking about trying this drink, don't view it as a miracle solution. See it for what it truly is. A daily act of kindness to yourself. A moment each morning to say, I'm here, and I matter. I deserve to be cared for. That's what this became for me. Make it part of your routine, not as a task to check off, but as a ritual of self-respect. The things that truly change our lives rarely shout. They whisper. They build slowly. They embed themselves into who we are. That morning glass didn't just restore my energy or eliminate my dizziness. It helped me reclaim something I thought I'd lost: ownership over my health, my day, and my energy. It was like I'd been granted a quiet truce with time itself. Now, I'm not here to make promises I can't keep. I'm not claiming this drink is a cure-all. But if you're waking up tired, feeling unsteady, dragging through your mornings like I was, what do you have to lose? Maybe the first step toward feeling better isn't complicated or expensive. Maybe it's just one small choice, one glass, one moment of care. So start there. Start simply. Start naturally. Start today. And now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever tried a natural remedy that truly made a difference in your health or your life? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it, and I know others will too. And if you know someone older who's dealing with morning dizziness or fatigue, share this video with them. You might end up helping them more than you know. Thank you so much for being here. Wishing you good health, happiness, and peace. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Healthy Aging Blueprint.